What is domestic violence? It is coercive behavior an individual uses to gain power and control over another person they have or had an intimate or family relationship with. It includes violence against or around children. It denies human rights and is often a criminal offense. The majority of perpetrators are men, and the majority of victims are women. It may include physical violence such as slapping and beating, sexual assault and rape, emotional and psychological abuse, verbal abuse, stalking and economic control, and can lead to murder. It occurs between people of all backgrounds, in short and long-term relationships. Domestic violence is a widespread issue across all Pacific Island countries. This is Mele, her husband Jacob, and their children Matthew and Esther. Mele is among the 2 out of 3 women in the Pacific who has experienced physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner in her lifetime. Globally, 1 out of 3 women experience this. Domestic violence is not a private matter. It affects the family, the community, impacts on work and school and the economy. Sometimes Mele misses work. She's stressed and depressed and hides her injuries. When she is at work, she sometimes looks distracted and doesn't perform well. Her boss, Tom, thinks she's unreliable and overlooks her for promotion. Jacob has been calling Mele at work. If she doesn't answer, he comes to the premises. When other staff tell him that she's too busy to talk to him, he gets angry. Now Tom's worried that the other staff could be in danger if Jacob keeps coming. Mele loses her job and becomes financially dependent on Jacob. Tom is losing money. Other staff were helping with Mele's workload, so the business was less productive. Since he dismissed Mele, another worker has been late. Tom suspects she's checking on Mele before she comes in. Now Tom has to replace Mele, but knows hiring and training new staff is expensive, and it takes time for someone new to learn the ropes. Mele's workmates suspected domestic violence because she was regularly absent or late without reason. She had unexplained injuries. She wore excessive clothing for the heat and heavy makeup. She developed low self-esteem and lost motivation. Her performance suffered at work. She became depressed and anxious. She was receiving a lot of calls from family and was sensitive when asked about her home life. Victims may display any, all, or even none of these signs, but all need support. Jacob's workmates don't know about his violence. He's a friendly person to them, and calling and visiting his wife is romantic. Sometimes he makes inappropriate comments about women, but the men dismiss this. Occasionally he loses his temper, but don't we all? Perpetrators of domestic violence can be hard to recognize. Matthew and Esther feel powerless, resentful, and afraid. They're both tired because they don't sleep well. Sometimes they can hear the violence, sometimes they have nightmares. When they go to school, they have poor attention to their lessons, which makes them frustrated and they lash out. Matthew starts hitting other kids to resolve arguments and loses friends. He starts avoiding school. Bored and angry, he gets in trouble with other youth in his area. The police pick him up as a truant. He gets a reputation as a troublemaker. His talents are wasted. When Jacob hits Mele, their neighbors call the police who come to the house. When she's injured, she receives medical treatment. Social services are called. Jacob is charged with assault and appears before the courts. Jacob's domestic violence is costing society. Without this violence, society would have more resources to spend. Governments have woken up to the crisis of domestic violence. Since 2008, domestic violence laws were passed in most Pacific Island countries. These laws are an important step to recognizing and ending domestic violence. And this is why SPC has a domestic violence policy, to create a supportive work environment to help victims of domestic violence and everyone supporting them. Without domestic violence, Mele and her family can thrive. the community can thrive and society can put more resources towards what everyone needs.